Back now with breaking news from Iran, where the United States could soon be helped in its fight against the Ayatollah's regime by an old ally. New reports say that Kurds within Iraq and Iran have mounted a major offensive against Iran's Revolutionary Guard forces. Axios reports President Trump spoke by phone with Kurdish leaders in Iraq on Sunday to discuss the U.S.-Israel war with Iran and what might come next. The Israelis are signaling exactly what comes next. They're bombing Iran's brutal security forces into submission, or at least possibly into giving up their posts, to clear a path for a popular uprising. You're going to hear a lot about Kurdish forces in the next 48 hours and their fighting force, the Peshmerga. Peshmerga were instrumental in helping U.S. troops defeat Saddam Hussein in 2003, halting the advance of ISIS a decade later. Other than in the Israelis, they are our best ally in the region for the past 2 decades. This is despite the U.S. screwing them over multiple times. The Kurds control large swaths of Turkey, Iraq, Syria, and Iran. So this is the map right here. Big part of eastern Turkey. The Turks do not like the Kurds, to say the least. Then they have Iraq here, part of Syria, Erbil, which there's a huge U.S. military base just because of the Kurds, and then a large indigenous Kurdish population here in western Iran on the road to Tehran. They hate the IRGC and the Ayatollah, maybe even more than they hated Saddam. So if Trump truly wants to keep American boots off the ground in Iran, this is the way to do it. With us now, Brigadier General John Teichert, former Assistant Deputy Undersecretary of the Air Force, former Air Force combat pilot, and most important for this segment, former U.S. military attaché to Iraq. You hear about the Kurds, it's easy to sort of dismiss them. Is this something they could do?
There is no way that you should be dismissing them. This is a population group of 40 million people. They are fierce fighters. They are well equipped, and they love the United States and Israel, and they hate the IRGC and the Ayatollah, and they are ready, no doubt, and poised with American help and Israeli help to start doing something that is our boots on the ground, but not us, but them.
Okay, so you think about how this looks from a map perspective. You have the Israelis who can provide close air support. They're now going after the Iranian internal security services. You have the U.S. base in Erbil. What does that mean for a Kurdish force going into Iran?
Leland, I would call this the Syrian analog, where you have an opposition force in a position of a sanctuary that's well equipped, that's well trained, and they start to radiate out towards the capital. The benefit that they will have is they've got air cover by the Israelis and the United States. So now you get the benefits of air and the benefits of the ground combined, and that makes it a potent force.
Okay, so villages with Kurdish population, Tehran is here. There's a big Kurdish population out here. They're cut off. This area is predominantly Kurdish. Does that mean it's a safe haven for them to begin pushing in?
It's not completely safe. There's probably about 10 million Kurds in that region of Iran, but that is a friendly force. And that means that sanctuary is real. And I think either as they start marching towards Tehran, it could either be the nucleus that others rally around or a catalyst to see other opposition groups rise up.
So I guess the other way to look at this is that if the Iranians are forced to flood this area with the IRGC and the Baji militia, it allows for uprisings in other parts of Iran. This brings up the important point, though. You've got Persians, you've got Kurds in Iran. Do they all rally around one group?
So I doubt that the Kurds end up being the nucleus, but they certainly, the Iranians, have to honor the threat, which means they've got to send forces.
They're already hitting, evidently.
No, absolutely. And, you know, the benefit by having ground and air forces is, in order to fight a ground force, you need to consolidate, which makes it an easy target for an air force. And so now
put that in perspective for us.
Yeah, so in order for them to defend against a ground force, that means they need to mass together.
The Iranians
do.
Okay.
And massing together is the perfect thing for a pilot to take out from the air.
Which, if the Israelis and the Americans have air superiority over Iran, makes that quite easy.
No, that's exactly right. And I have no doubt that we have been training in this mission with them, that the Starlinks...
Big CIA base in Erbil.
No, absolutely, yes. And likely the Mossad's involved here, too. And so they have been working through how do we coordinate air support to their ground forces, and I think we're going to see it executed very soon.
Yeah, the Kurds are the only ones we understand inside Iran who still have weapons, because the Iranians, for obvious reasons, don't exactly believe in the Second Amendment. This was the rat line for the Starlinks to get in through Erbil. They came in through U.S. military airlift to Erbil. All right, Donald Trump talking about the Kurds. Take a listen. J.D. Vance talking about President Trump talking about the Kurds.
We have a great relationship with the Kurds. The president loves the Kurds. And look, our attitude is we want those people to be able to live in peace and harmony and prosperity with their neighbors. We've pursued a foreign policy of peace in part because we want the Kurdish people, but also the Arab people who live there, the Jewish people who live there, the Christians. We want everybody to be able to live in peace.
All right. Video of the Kurds, interesting enough, a big part of the Kurdish fighting force is women. What are they able to do that in the past, when the U.S. has armed locals, for lack of a better term, and it hasn't worked out very well, what is different with them?
They are fundamentally Western in their mindset and the way they fight. I was in Iraq recently for 14 months. I spent a lot of time with the leaders up in the Kurdish region and the Peshmerga, and I was surprised every time I left Baghdad for Erbil at how Western it felt. And when I was working with the Kurdish forces, that they understood a Western way of war, that they understood. It means decentralizing control and trusting the fielded forces in the field to do what the commander expects them to do as a combined fighting force. They did that very well when I saw them in action, and I have no doubt that they're going to do that even better with the support of air cover.
What does it tell us that now, 5 days in, there's already a report of Kurdish forces moving in to Iran from Iraq?
Initially, we focused on the military objectives and giving us a permissive environment in the air to strike targets at will. Now that we have that, it means that the top cover is available at a moment's notice to support the ground forces of the Kurds as they flow from the west to the east. But it started with air superiority and a disorganized command and control from the Iranians, and now we're going to take advantage of that.
All right, General John Teichert, thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.